Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you in another video. All right, so it's the next morning after the LA Lakers beat the Phoenix Suns. We feel really good about that win because we need every win we can get, excluding absolutely nobody. I want to kind of acknowledge something that the coach said because he was quoted. Someone that asked him, I don't know where it happened. Might have been a presser, might have been in the locker room. Sometime after the game, he was asked something about AD and why he was able to play so well. And the quote that Darvin gave them, I read, was his dumbass coach finally started running plays for him. That's what Darvin said. And, for me, it kind of set with me because I know that I get on here and more or less call him stupid every day. And I'd acknowledged yesterday, earlier in the day, that I consider myself a coach killer. And what that means is I'm always coming down on coaches harder than I come down on anybody else. They're usually my punching bag, so to speak. And it's not by design. It's just that I look at them as guys who are responsible for what other people are responsible for. And even though coaches get their fair share of the blame in a lot of cases, it's not like they go without blame. I think at the end of the day, for our specific issues, it's usually something having to do with the coach not being able to do enough with a little bit. Because we're always left with a little bit. Because we built the way that we did and then had injury problems on top of it. So whoever was going to take on the job was going to have to do more with less, going to have to, be able to make do with not enough. And that starts with the front office, and I had given them plenty of blame, but you can only blame someone who doesn't have a job to do every day but so much. It's the guy who's on the floor every day, who's with the foot soldiers down there, that you get to see as the general that has control over what it is that you see, more or less, from my understanding, unless the ownership steps in, which does happen from time to time in places. Here, it happens here. And, but it really comes down to the coach being the head of what you see. And so, for me, I always want that person to do things that put the players in a position to be able to compete at the highest level based on matchups and what makes sense. And I have my own ideas about what makes sense, and I think that's key to it all. It doesn't mean that I'm right, it just means that I believe strongly. And so what I want to do is get to a point where I can know the difference between what it is I believe strongly and what it is that should be done, which is only going to help as I grow within my understanding of the game. But certain things, unless there's context that I'm missing, are at face value. When a guy is shorter than another guy or slower than another guy, he's going to get ran past, he's going to get shot or whatever. These are the type of things that I believe. I understand. Like, I believe I do. People who tell me that the game is played a certain way, I've listened to them. I've listened to ball players talk about the game that they love and how they word certain things, how they view the game. And it's not as simple as a lot of times I try to make it sound. Put a taller player on the floor, get a rebound, we're done. No, there are other things that go into the science of the game. And the more I learn, the more I understand. But even so, as I said yesterday in a video, even with the complications that the game can provide, it still is a certain simplicity that's there for you to understand. Everyone can play the game. Children can play the game. And so for me, it's like, even though it has complications, it still has lower common denominators about it. We can all agree that if you box out on every level, you have a better chance of winning basketball games. We can all agree that if you travel with the ball, no matter what level, you're going to be in violation. Like, these are certain things that just are common denominators with the game. And I think some of those things are things that I believe we betray. So when I go off and say anything that questions somebody's willingness to choose the right decision, it's going to be under that vein. It's going to be in that mindset. Because at the end of the day, I've come to be wise enough to understand that sometimes people stumble into failure. Other times people initiate that failure on purpose for different reasons. that may not necessarily make sense to the people who are paying attention to it. And that is also something I try to leave open. For all I know, they want to be at a disadvantage. They want to take on certain losses. They want to be bad. Teams are tanking in real life every day. So it's like you don't really know what a team's interest is or what they're looking for, what their plans are, what road they're trying to take to get to whatever goals they actually want to reach. But as a fan, you got to sit there and root for it, and you got to respect, unfortunately, that it's not in their best interest to tell you everything that they got going on, because they need you to pay attention and buy tickets and buy paraphernalia and everything. So if they're going to have losing seasons, they may tell you, like Philadelphia did back at the process days when, they were going for a tank and wanted their fan base to get behind them as they went through that process. It worked out. They got Joel Embiid. They'll probably get a chance to get a championship before he retires. That's what it was about. So if the Lakers want to do something like that, they just got to let us know they're on, what it is. And what I try to do is help by telling fans what it is that I think I see that leads to certain things that I believe doesn't work, and that I think can kind of help fans who maybe don't know who to point their attention to kind of educate themselves by whatever push I give them with my information, so that they'll know who to blame, so that they have better context as to not call people stupid when they mean to do things that bring them a negative result, or not to blame coaches when it is the organization who's telling them not to play a guy or to play a guy, or to look at the players and say, yo, you guys need to play better. The coach is doing all he can with what he has, but there's a lot of different ways to look at it, and everybody deserves this portion of success, of the success and the blame. So for me, it's just like, what I want to let everybody know right now is my goal is to not belittle anybody or assume that I have the highest basketball IQ, or assume that just because I believe something is right that it's going to play out that way. You guys have seen me be right on this camera. You guys have seen me be really, really wrong on this camera. And a lot of the time, I'll come up here and make myself look very, very stupid or unintelligent or what have you by not saying the right thing or misspeaking with words, or just ultimately just, whatever you perceive from what it is I believe is right may not necessarily align with what you believe, and so therefore you look at me and say, look at that stupid guy or what have you. As somebody, and this is important to me, as somebody who struggles with all of the things that come with perception and all of these different things, confidence in these things, mental health and all that, for somebody who has these issues, it would be a betrayal of my struggle to apply any type of unnecessary criticism or bullying tactics or any type of mental or verbal beating. You know what I mean? That's not who I want to be as a person. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get up here and say that, sports media will allow us to speak freely and to let our emotions stay on the sideline. We're trying to win. We're trying to win big. I recognize and I truly embody the understanding that the Los Angeles Lakers are playing a bigger game than what everybody else is playing in this league, with the exception of the Celtics, whom we're battling with for championships. And I kind of want that. I want that to be pushed to the front of the Laker mindset, because I do believe that is what makes us special, is the fact that we're in this battle that only two teams are a part of. Nobody else can even get in that range in their lifetime. None of these guys are going to likely live to see their favorite teams be a part of this battle. And so what I'm saying is that for both teams, the Lakers and the Celtics, need to be something that we start to rally around again in regards to our culture, because a lot of us had forgotten how big that rivalry was and how many years these two teams faced off in the finals. As eras changed, these two teams were still at the top. So it's like, it's incumbent upon both of those two teams to keep that tradition, to engage in what it takes to be the best you can, whether you're able to do it or not, and proceed to move forward as leaders, showing the rest of the league what it is that you're ultimately aspiring for from year to year to year. We are the leaders, and we're two of the most winning organizations in world sports, period. So it's one of those situations where it's like, look, as a Laker fan, I don't think I'm saying anything new, but I am returning to the original understanding that we are about domination, and that will lead us to facts over feelings. That will lead us to being harsh toward folks. And sometimes when you get on people and you hit them with the criticism that they maybe would rather not hear, It inspires them to turn things around. And with me and having my interests wrapped up in us winning championships every year, or at least being good enough to propel ourselves toward that type of glory, it's going to be very difficult for me to be respectful in my tone as if I'm talking about something other than basketball. When I say do something smart out there, don't do something stupid out there, put us in a position to have simple common sense take place out there, that's where the energy comes from, because I got that mentality that I'm always in a battle with another team that's only up here in the cosmos with me. You know what I mean? And they're very close to the next championship, and we've never ever been tied with them until now, or even ahead of them, of course. And it's just one of those situations where it's like we've been far away from them and then went on a stretch run to catch up. You know what I mean? We were what? 5 or 6 championships behind them? Maybe more? And we caught up. And now we're in a position to finally pass them for the first time in all of these years. All 70, 80 of these years. And I understand that from a Laker pride standpoint. We're that close. And so for me, it's like, yo, I don't want my rookie coach, or I don't want players or front office personnel or anyone to not be aware of what it is I intend when I get on this camera every day and try to help my team win. I'm looking at every single level, from the court to the fans to the GM and ownership and all of the guys that help contribute to this thing in coaching and scouting. I'm looking at the international aspect of it. I'm looking at the national aspect of it. I'm looking at the historical aspect of it, past, present, and potentially future. I'm looking at all of that at once every day when I speak about this league every day. That's where my mindset is. And so I respect that because I'm wired this way, I might have some things to share that might introduce a different way of thinking in regards to the league, a different way of thinking in regards to a team pride, particularly our team. And then I want to normalize not asking others to take on that type of pressure, or rather to apply that type of pressure to players when you don't have this type of cachet. It should only be one Celtics and one Lakers in the league with that type of pressure. That should not be every team everywhere. And that's the thing. It's like this thing is a pressure cooker, as I like to call it. It is one of the most difficult hats to wear in sports, in my opinion, is trying to lead a Los Angeles Lakers team, because at the end of the day, we do think like this as a collective unit. As a collective unit. You know, we really believe that Mamba mentality, you know, tough love and hard work, harder work than everybody else, basically, is going to get us to a place where we overachieve no matter who we have on our floor. If we respect certain things like clock management and different stuff like that, we know that we can put ourselves in a position to be smarter than the other guys who are not considering those things. Now, whether or not this league, and I'm tell y'all what it is, whether or not this league will allow those principles to actually be the reality of what works and what doesn't, is up in the air, because I don't really know what type of energy the league is engaging in right now as it pertains to how these games shape up. It just seems like a lot of corruption. So some of the principles that have to do with winning and losing and the things you have to pay attention to in order to win may not actually be relevant in a league where they can just simply whistle it 400 times and send one team to the line, the other team to the line only but so much, and then the game will go that way. It just takes away from what it takes to win. And when we're looking at that, I don't know what to do with that. I don't think anybody really knows what to do with that when assessing the sport, because we only know how to assess it one way, and that's with the rules in mind and integrity in place. I don't know how to maneuver around the world when everything's fixed. So that plays into my frustration as I'm looking down there and I'm talking, because I have that in mind as well. And so it's like, I love the fact that my team has been winning, but I can't ignore the fact that we've been going to the line about 30 times a game over the last 2 games. I ain't going to ignore that. I don't think anybody else is either. I appreciate being on the side of it, but I know if I was on the other side of it, there would be some things to talk about that I would be a hypocrite for not bringing up right now. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, I don't know what it takes to win in today's league. I know what it takes to win in any league where you're all over the world and have the NBA rules and can ultimately put professional talent on the floor to play at a certain level. If you take this NBA model and put it anywhere around the world, it should be the same thing it takes to win. It should be the same thing. So that's what I try to promote. I know we're going to come out of this betting era This is not going to last forever. People are already tired of it. People are making money, but people are tired of it. So eventually it's going to go away. And when it goes away, these principles and these things that matter, they're going to be more so important, I think, depending on how the NBA decides to maneuver. And how the NBA decides to maneuver is also a big part. As we said, do a lot with a little. We got to make sure that these teams aren't putting their coaches in those situations. And that's something I also want to kind of talk about as much as I can, helping organizations see what it is that I think I see with this brain. Yo, that player and that player match. How about you trade him to him, and then you have a better situation? Those type of things I think I see kind of easy. So, that's what I want to help us do. If we can't do nothing else, let's at least tell the league every day how we would like integrity to be reincorporated back into it. And please devise a math that allows you to have sports betting and defense in place at the same time, because I do believe such a thing can be possible. You just got to bet on the right stuff. Don't just bet on scoring, bet on defense, bet on block shots, bet on PER or whatever the word would be, plus minus. These are the things I would like us to kind of work into the equation so that the game itself can shave back into spaces that allow for competitiveness to be the forefront of what we're doing. You can bet around certain things so you don't have to rig other things. And that's what I know. That's what I know. You don't have to rig nothing, just bet on the right stuff. That's it. Get smarter about what you're putting the money on within the sport. So that's what I want them to figure out. They're smart enough to do it. I know they are. Figure it out. But don't have us out here cheating the game so that people can make a couple extra bucks, man. There are other ways to make money. More even. So that's where I'm at with it. I like ultimately seeing guys score a lot of points. I was listening to Billy Mack yesterday. He said the Lakers had a low scoring first quarter. I think the score was like 21-25. I'm like, bro, that ain't low scoring. And then I had to check myself. I'm like, yes, it is. In this era when guys go for 150, 170, it is low scoring. You want to see 30-point quarters every quarter, but it's like, that's not the NBA. That's not real. You're not going to see 30-point quarters every quarter. You're more likely to see 22, 23-point quarters every quarter. So it's like, these are the type of things that we just got to adjust our mind to. And it's kind of hard to do that. It's just kind of hard to do that when things are changing so fast and not necessarily for the better. So, I'm just a Laker fan who's happy that I'm on this side of it. Hopefully our team can continue to get to the line a million times. Hopefully we don't miss as many free throws so we can actually win some of those games. But I would like to see a return to defense and a return to just allowing guys to have a bit more freedom to move around. I'd like our travel rules to be re-examined. Certain things we allow in travel, I don't like. Certain things we allow people to do behind the arc creates too much unnecessary space for the offensive player. It's hard enough to defend the perimeter as it is, since you don't allow defenders to even stand anywhere near anyone's landing space. Now you allow these guys to take 3 and 4 steps back after picking up the dribble. It's just not. That is an unfair advantage that we are allowing to happen. Versus a guy who barely lifts his pivot foot on a pivot, doesn't even lift his pivot foot, just kind of bends his heel for or whatever. He bends his foot forward, not even fully lifting it, which when I was a child was always fine. You didn't have to have your ankle and your foot planted flat. You could at least turn your pivot and pivot because it's a pivot. And if you're going to pivot, then that ball of your foot is going to have to spin, or your ankle is going to do some uncomfortable move as you're trying to turn and use your full range of motion. So that right there, to me, has always been a perversion of the sport itself. You ain't going to tell me a guy can step 3 and 4 steps behind the 3-point arc and shoot from 30 feet away after picking up his dribble from in front of the 3-point line, just to tell me that a guy can't bend the ball of his foot so he can spin and pass the ball somewhere else. Absolutely not. That's a perversion of the game, and I don't appreciate it. Over the back, things like that. You know why over the back was important? Because a lot of times smaller guys are boxing out massive humans like Shaquille O'Neal. If Shaquille O'Neal leans on that guy's back the wrong way, he's out for 6 months. You can't have guys this heavy and this strong leaning on each other, bro. Hopping on each other's backs in awkward positions to pull down rebounds over people who are boxing them out. Why would we allow box out to be so important if we're going to allow people to overcome that box out and foul each other to get rebounds? Fix the rules, man. These are perversions of the game. Simply put, they're perversions of the game. And then you get mad at a guy for barely cupping the handle of his hand ever so slightly because he can cross a guy over 10 times faster if he does it that way. It's like, no, you're taking away his advantage that God gave him to be 10 times faster than the next guy. But you're going to let that same guy who can't keep up with this dude create all that space from behind the arc. It's like, nah, man, y'all playing with the game in ways that I know is bullcrap. That's garbage. You're not helping the sport. You're not helping the players. It's not safer. It ain't making none of that better. None of it. So for me, it's like, y'all want to take away hand checking, but you want to allow over the back. It's like, nah, man, we look. I ain't saying the old school guys had it all right. I don't think we can go back to play the way they did and see the results they had, because we have much more skilled players who could do a lot more offensively. So it would be a different league even if we went back to those rules. But I do think that some sweet medium needs to be found so that we can be a little more like those guys, so we can be a little more comparable to those guys when you decide to say who's better and who's not. The historical factor is what plays in my mind in regards to that. So I just want to see our team get that together and try to find themselves in a position, not just our team, but the whole league, find ourselves in a position where integrity is something that we see in the league every day in regards to how it's being officiated, I guess you could say. So that's where my head went, and it always goes there. I say that at least once a month. But, we're consistent. Until we see changes, we will remind folks. So just to circle back to the original thing of what I was saying, when I get on here and I call Coach stupid in more or less 160 different ways, it's not my intention to belittle him. It's just that I got all this stuff in my head at once. And it's like, look, we can't afford certain mistakes in an arena like this, where the NBA is doing all kinds of other extra stuff that you have to overcome. We need to be sharp in the areas that we need to be sharp so we can overcome the corruption in place. And that is important. How many games have we lost where we didn't agree with the call? How many times have we had situations where the other team said we went to the line way more than them? It's a weird league right now. You got to cover your backs up. You know what I mean? And I tell you right now, if they're rigging for us to get in the playoffs, don't expect them to rig it for us to get into the finals. Don't expect they just want us to win a championship. They're probably rigging it so they can get us to a certain point so they can knock us off. So we need to be ready for the corruption coming against us, just like whatever else this is going on right now. So that's what it is, man. We real fans here, bro. We do not care for any type of cheating. I don't give a damn what it is. It's the same thing I say about PEDs. As long as it's illegal, we gotta be honest about it, and we gotta shun it until it starts to make sense, for which I support. And then from there, we don't have to shun it no more. We allow people to do what ultimately allow them to be durable, and just measure it out according to what makes sense. But as long as the rule is not in place, and we can still get in trouble for it, anybody can still get in trouble for it, we got to keep parity, we got to be respectful. So, that's really what it comes down to. I don't think that any different than any other type of corruption. You cannot let it slide on no level. Or else it will back you into different other things that you have to corrupt in order to keep it going. No different than any other lie, man. No different than any other lie. It just stops becoming what it is that you're doing after a while. Whatever it is that your intended purpose was, it goes away when you allow corruption and greed to take over. So maybe people don't care about that. But what I know is when you're a billionaire, there's a million businesses you can jump into. It ain't no sense in destroying the integrity of a certain company just to make an extra couple of dollars, when you can make an extra couple of dollars a million different ways. So that's what I would say, man. Respect what it is. For a lot of NBA owners, it's a passion project. You're doing this for fun. So let's keep it for what it's worth, man. For a lot of people who are involved underneath that, it's business, and it's people's lives, and it's people's livelihoods, and it's important. It's really people's lives. But for our owners and our governors, for some of them, it's an important business. For others, this is them chilling. This is how you have fun after you've won in life. So for me, if I'm one of those guys, I kind of want the game we're playing to be fun, or to be the game that it should be, whatever that is. I want the game to have its integrity, the rules to be in place, and I want to be able to enjoy my role in the game without feeling like the game is not actually the game itself. And so that's what I would think from an owner's perspective. It's like, yeah, we can make money this way, but I can also buy silver and make money. I can also invest in a different type of company and make money. I can also, do that and make money. And then from there, I have several other things that are making money too. So it's like, this is just one avenue that makes money, and probably not the one that makes me the most money. So let's keep it intact, man. Let's not act like the priority to rig it is that real. It can't be. It can't be. The integrity of the sport, I think, is way more important to the lasting existence of the sport than the short-term, let's cash out right now aspect of the sport, as if this is the only way the earners are able to get a bag. It's just not. The people who own it have all types of avenues. So that's what I wanted to say, man. I look at a guy like Steve Ballmer. It's like there's no benefit to him having a team in a league that's screwed, that's choppy, that's not has integrity to it. I mean, the man got $100 billion rigging this little thing for what? Not having it be what it's supposed to be for what? A couple extra bill? What is that to him? What is it really to him? And that's what it really comes down to me. I just look at it and say, nah, for a guy like that, if I were to try my best to put my feet in his shoes, the one thing I definitely want is for my little passion project to be exactly what it is that I paid for it. That's it. So that's how I'm looking at that, man. But all in all, man, everybody's not in the same boat when it comes to governors. Not everybody's in the same financial boat when it comes to governors. Not everybody has the same market from which to work from when it comes to governors. So maybe they think of it a little differently depending on person to person, given the lack of parity in certain situations. But the market will make up for that, as we've seen. The market locked up because it didn't want certain guys to go a certain way, and if you do that, then certain price tags go up so high. So it's like even if you rig it, you're still gonna have to pay for it. Even if you trade Rudy Gobert for a small country, you're still gonna have to settle for letting go of Vanderbilt for pennies on the dollar. That's essentially what it is. That's exactly what it is. The market's gonna make you pay for what it is that you took. So it all comes back around anyway. But I look at this and I just want the teams to work properly and the NBA to move in a way that makes sense. And then from there, I think we'll have a great product. Once again, they already got great talent down there, but just got to find a way to keep them healthy and keep them playing cohesive and cultivating all of them and not overusing old guys and leaning on young guys too soon, those type of things. So it is what it is, man. I want to soul search a little bit about how I should feel about what I should say in regards to killing coaches. Because a part of me feels like it's righteous to say, yo, it's not my intention to call people stupid, this, that, and the third. But who am I apologizing for? Myself or the entire sports world? Because I ain't the only one who's saying anything, and I don't want people to think that I think they should be sorry for something that I feel I should change about myself. You feel me? So I ain't necessarily sorry for calling Coach stupid. I am sorry that it came off in such a way that I wasn't pleased with. And so that's why I'm reacting to it. I think I want to get better at how I articulate my frustration, especially in the moment, especially about something as passionate as I am about my team. It can put you in a position to deserve a punch in the face. And I'm not lost on that. I ain't asking to be punched either. And so there's certain things that need to be said differently, and I'm going to hold myself to task for my own reasons, not because anybody else has anything to say about it. But at the same time, that you say something about it is something that I'll think about, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be the guy that just pours it on too much. There are energies that deserve that type of stuff. Politics, certain social stuff. We need to be calling people stupid to get them to get it right. Sports may not necessarily be that. So there are ways to articulate our frustration without confusing what is right versus what it is that we just don't agree with, or what is wrong versus what it is that we don't agree with. And so that's one thing that I always want people to understand. Some stuff I just don't agree with. And then from there, as I don't agree with it, I see it not work. And then I feel like I have the right to say, yo, that's stupid. It don't look right. It ain't working. But if something I don't like happens to be working consistently, then I just got to sit back and accept the fact that it's working and adjust my mindset. And that's exactly what I'll do. If you show me small ball works, I'm going to be like, cool, we need to go to small ball more. We got a bunch of Steph Currys down here. We can shoot better from behind the arc than we can up close and consistently. Teams can't stop it. Make us small, shoot from far. Because I want to win. If that's the game, that's what we're doing. If you change the rules to where we can only shoot from far away, I'm going to suggest that we follow the rules and shoot from only far away. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to make sense of what it is I'm seeing. I would want us to do the same. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.